Welcome back to the CannaCon Show, Season 2. We are here live from CannaCon with Alexis from What Rebates, Tony from CEE. This is Season 2 of the CannaCon Show, brought to you by What Rebates, our official rebates partner. So it makes sense to sit down. Alexis, first up, how do you pronounce your last name?
Dubourdieu.
Yes.
Really French.
And you come from France.
I do come from France, yes. Born and raised.
Born and raised in France. Dubourdieu.
Yeah.
Dubourdieu.
Yeah.
Tony Beman with CEE.
Way easier. How do you pronounce your name, Tony? Yeah.
He's the B-man. Yeah. Now, you guys are fresh off your Friday seminar, the state of LED lighting rebates in 2026. The show, relatively underattended, but that doesn't mean that the knowledge and the information isn't relevant. Right off the bat, what stands out to you within the Minnesota market when it comes to LED lighting rebates?
Well, what stands out is basically the program that Excel put together. It's kind of based on the one from Colorado, but exceptional program for growers to get a return on their investment straight from the batch. So yeah, great opportunity. I'd say one of the best market out there.
Hey everybody, Stephen with CannaCon, taking a quick minute to shout out today's sponsor, CEE. That is the Center for Energy and Environment. If you're not familiar with CEE, they're your one-stop shop for all lighting rebates. If you are in Xcel Energy territory and you're a micro business, CEE is somebody that you need to talk to. Give Brad a call, give Tony a call, go online, one-stop shop, LED lighting rebates. They'll help take care of up to 60% of the costs associated with your grow and your build-out with the lighting. Really nice people, great people to work with, huge sponsors of CannaCon, and give them a shout. That's CEE, Center for Energy and Environment. You know, one thing that stands out to me right away with the LED lighting rebates is that companies like Excel would rather provide rebates and then build new power solutions, right?
Absolutely.
So they'd rather incentivize you to purchase LED lights than have to build more power capability.
Absolutely.
That's fair to say?
Yeah.
I would say creating capacity through conservation.
That's right.
That makes sense?
That makes a lot of sense. What Tony just said is creating capacity on the grid with that
Via conservation.
via conservation.
Yeah.
And explain to me why LED is conservation forward.
Well, I mean, about 65% of the consumption in a grow and the horticultural business is probably LED in your room, right? In your grow room. So it makes sense for utility companies to kind of tackle this, that's energy consumption coming from the most energy-poor, piece of equipment in the grow, right? And so I think the idea between reducing the stress for them on the grid is because, again, like years ago, like in the last couple of years, there was a shortage of transformers as well, right? So it's still a huge lead time. So reducing, that stress on the grid, I think, is why we have those initiatives as well as environmental.
I've been told that cannabis cultivation facilities are like mini data centers. The amount of power
Absolutely
required to grow plants indoors.
Yeah.
Heavy usage of power.
Absolutely.
How does LED technology continue to become more efficient? What have you seen in your industry?
Yeah, that's just the technology, just kind of what changed the game in the last, since the arrival of LEDs, like the game changed quite a bit. Before, a lot of growers, they kept the HPS and CMH because, of the spectrum and the efficacy of the LED wasn't really there. But in the last 5-6 years, it came a long way. And now it's, there's absolutely no, in my opinion, there's no LEDs that, is not capable of reproducing the spectrum of an HPS. So really, the difference is the spectrum and obviously the heat coming from the HPS. But right now, like the efficacy of those new LEDs, they surpass the HPS. And
within a facility beyond lighting, what else do growers need to be paying attention to?
Oh, well, I mean, obviously the environment, and so obviously having like the HVAC and dehumidificator, depending on where you are, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, I would say having a room completely controlled. Also like control systems, sometimes adaptive to the environment in real time comes a long way, and even in energy savings as well. So yeah, those kind of equipment, I'd say, it's the most important. HVAC, I'd say, is also a big piece of energy consumption.
And how can your team help work through beyond lighting when it comes to the HVAC side?
Great question. Actually, we do custom applications through Excel. So to cover a piece of a part of the equipment for HVAC, for the humidifiers, And somewhat not all utilities, but they let you do analysis on your building, the envelope of the building basically, and then a lot of other equipment like fans or VFDs, or there's a lot of equipment that qualifies, and sometimes people don't know about them.
Minnesota has 163 different utilities in the state.
Yeah.
Where does that rank within other states comparatively? Is that more utilities?
Oh, I'd say there's like about 3,000 in the states, something nationwide, right? But there's probably 1,600 that you've heard of.
Okay.
There's a lot of co-op as well. If you go to Washington, there's a lot of PUDs. I think there's like 40 of them, something.
Yeah.
So it really depends how they organize the market. But I'd say here there's a good concentration of utilities. Let's say Excel, Autotel, and Minnesota Power. All those, that's probably 90% of it. Then the smaller ones, they're just more local, right?
Right.
And
Now, you'll work with growers across Minnesota.
absolutely.
The utility rebates, the rebates that you can get from the utility provider is different for each utility.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really based on your location and what utility you're using. And so based on that, we'll check your utility bill and make sure that, we look at the right program for you and make sure we can maximize it based on their guideline and their requirements. So we can just go through the fine prints, see what we can, get for them, and then what they need to do to achieve that. And that's what we specialize in.
And what type of success have you seen within Xcel Energy territory, and how have you collaborated with CEE?
That's it's a great question, because we started really with Excel in Colorado, where the market even the last 5 years was really good. It's still pretty good, and there's really good incentive there. So they kind of moved that strategy here, and then CE came in, and they actually have a better way of rewarding incentivize people, because they reward efficacy, and that's what it should be really, because you don't want to incentivize a measure that can be counterproductive in a way, and produce more stress on your grid. If you base it on efficacy, is smart, because obviously we want technology and innovation and saving energy. So yeah.
So the LED lighting rebate program has evolved from within Xcel Energy from Colorado to Minnesota. And that's what you expect to see as markets mature.
Absolutely.
Colorado was an early cannabis market. Minnesota is a second stage cannabis market. I'm picking up that there have been improvements made to the program from the initial where you started working with Xcel Energy. Right. So it was only logical that you would find common ground to work within Minnesota and serve Xcel Energy customers. And that's where your connection to CE came through.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how we met. They administer this program, and I mean, we do a lot of growth, and the first expense there is the lighting, right? And then they specialize on lighting, and with the program they came up with, we realized it was really helpful for growers, right? And you're able to cover 60% of project costs. It's pretty big.
So my lighting bill, my lights are going to cost me $500,000. You could, in theory, get up to 60% of your lights covered when you're doing a cultivation in Xcel Energy territory.
Yeah, absolutely. And in theory, you can get a little bit more, because you can factor other project costs to it, which are installation. So technically, you'll still have to pay for something, but you can cover a bit more of that 60%, because technically, you factor in other costs to your project, right? So
let's dig into that. So lighting is the main expense that people know, but then what comes next?
So, you look at especially in Minnesota, right? There's a lot of new construction, right? Even though you need to have a building that's been that's already built, and you can't really build a building from ground up, right? So you need to use a pre-existing building. You take that building, and then you'll probably reshuffle everything in it, and then put unit struts, and maybe put benches, and there's a lot that inherent to this specific room where you'll spend money, and we
full
can
build
factor full build out, absolutely, and then you'll have unit struts, you'll have the electricity panels, and a lot of those can be factored in the project costs with CE and Excel.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we use. And then obviously it'll cover a little bit more of your equipment, and obviously if it's within the parameters of those programs. So there's honestly really good opportunity for any growers in Minnesota, and even without being with Excel or CE.
Yes.
There's other utilities here that have a good program as well, which is more like custom. So you'll be kilowatt hour save. It's a little bit different than the prescriptive. We'll give you an amount per watt, but it's still good. And then people, should definitely look into it as well.
Something that I've been hearing from CE is that businesses that with micro licenses or even maybe meso licenses, but with CE, it's a micro business program, are looking at building out their cultivation in stages, maybe starting with 1,500 square feet, 3,000 square feet, then 5,000 square feet. Good, better, best.
Yes.
Step by step.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that with, we do also large facilities
Across the country.
across the country. And it's really, it's common now that people would do it in phases because they can recoup a bit of their money. A little bit of trench every 3 months, 6 months through the installation. So, they install lights and then they get money back, and then it gives them money to pay for the installation of the other phases. So it's really common, and we've seen that a lot in Colorado, where people would do it in phases, maybe 2, 3 phases, sometimes 5 phases have done of 200 lights. So it's a good process to make sure everything is taken care of, and they can get some return on investment right away.
How can what rebates help them along the way? Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. I know you're aware of it, but how do you stick with your customers?
Oh, so we have our own platform, which ultimately works as a management platform for rebates. So the customer can just go on the platform, check where we are, who we talk to, who we sending emails to, and then we talk with CE, the utilities, and they can check the process from the application to the check redistribution. So we have that full transparency platform. And we realized, that's something that was lacking a little bit in the industry. So we have this platform where anyone can use, our partners, the manufacturers or distributor we work with, or consultant, the consumer itself. We can, even the utility workers can use it. Yeah, it's like a CRM, but for rebates. So that's what we built in-house. Yeah.
Great. Wow. And Tony, what stands out to you when working with what rebates?
That's easy.
Yeah.
They follow the process. It's gotten herky-jerky. It's gotten bumpy. We're new to the space, so we're learning every day.
Yeah.
Excel has added some new program requirements that we're all adapting to. But I never get any pushback from the what rebates guy. I don't get any cost gouging. I mean, there's things that we've seen already in our limited exposure to the market. And I'm a big trust guy and an intent guy. And so far the projects have all been streamlined. The customer's best interest is always in mind. So it just gives me a lot of peace of mind.
What are some of the common mistakes operators may make in the rebate process?
That's a great question as well. So here, there's not really any mistake you can make because you choose equipment and then you install it and then you get paid. And a lot of actually, and other utilities than Excel or CE, you need to get pre-approval before buying your lights. So it's really important to kind of apply before and have all the information ready, present it to the utility, and they'll tell you, okay, now you can buy those lights because they qualify. And so if then they give you pre-approval, and then you can purchase the lights. So time-wise, that's one of the most important things that we see people are missing timelines or deadlines or not getting pre-approval before purchasing the lights. So that's could be a huge hurdle for people. So we make sure that people respect every guideline for each utility. So they're all different, and that's one thing. It's just really timelines in general that people are not aware of.
And how important is it for cultivators to reach out early on in the process?
Well, it is important again because of those timelines to make sure that the timeline of the utility and how it generally works, and it's advertised. Sometimes you can they'll tell you, oh, you get a reservation later within 1 or 2 weeks, and then you get it on 4 weeks, right? So everyone has timeline, and to make sure that the customer's timeline is aligned with the utility general timeline as well. We help with that and make sure that we're on top of everything for them. That's kind of where we step in.
And do you stay busy in mature markets as well?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, major markets. Well, you have California, for example, is one that, but Colorado as well. We're still quite active as well. There's a lot of utilities. There's a lot of markets actually dephasing and they're actually phasing out in terms of like reducing the incentive or just phasing out. Like let's say New York, for example, which is a bummer because there's a lot of activities there, and then we can do a lot of good things, but they just decided to kind of let the program go. So there's new markets like Minnesota, probably. Virginia as well, where we won. But yeah, being able to kind of track those markets that have been successful in the cannabis space, it's absolutely primordial for us, and we keep like a good benchmark on those as well.
Right. Yeah. Right. Tony, I had a question for you. So it's June 2026. Lighting rebates right now are very good.
Right.
How important is it for Minnesota licensees right now in the cannabis space to be considering their rebates this year?
It's a challenge. In my experience, you know me, I came from Excel Energy, then been working in lighting, been doing conservation since college. Rebates never go up. That's the reality. LED will soon become the baseline, both in my normal world of commercial lighting, both in my grow lighting world, right? So now is the time. And it's not, I don't mean to be presumptuous and assume things, but rebates are not going to be higher next year. They're not going to be higher the following year. If anything, they're going to be lower. Right. So if you have the ability, and this comes back to the phasing, you may not be ready for everything. Right. Let's start now. Let's harness these rebates before they go down, if they do, and capitalize on phase one. Use those funds to reinvest into phase 2, 3, 4, you know, get started. I'm helping a gal up north. She has 17 fixtures. I don't care. The minimum rebate we can offer is $5. I'm happy to help.
Right. It's a dollar amount now, lighting.
Let's get that money coming your way. Let's get those energy savings coming your way. Let's take a bite off the apple now and let's get started.
Take advantage of what's in front of you.
Yeah, big or small.
Absolutely. And just to add to this, let's take Colorado, for example, with Excel. 2-3 years ago was $1 what installed. It went down to 70 cents. Now it's 50 cents, right? So we can, we can probably, forecast the same thing happening here. And again, because those incentives, they're here to incentivize new technology, such as LEDs. And again, LEDs, they won't be they're not new anymore, right? So obviously, they'll probably go down, and acting now is the smartest way of doing it. Yeah.
What's changed in Minnesota? What's getting phased out right now? Brad had mentioned something a little bit recently about a ban of some kind. Can you speak a little bit more to the lights that are being phased out in Minnesota?
Yeah, so in my commercial lighting hat, or with my commercial lighting hat on, all fluorescent lighting, so linear fluorescent lighting that you see everywhere, you can't purchase it in the state anymore. Whether that's online, in person, anything like that. So we have a lot of customers that are scrambling. I think about the dispensaries, and if they're inheriting another building or an existing building with fluorescent lighting, give us a call. Don't try to find some fluorescents that work. Odds are high you go into a new space, lights are burned out. There's a pretty quick decision you have to make. Get us out there quick so we can analyze the existing lighting. We'll build you a rebate. We'll help you. We can cover, in commercial lighting, we can cover up to 75% actually. So the bonus that we have going on right now, it can be very economically viable.
What would you say to dispensary operators, dispensary retailers that haven't reached out to CE?
mnce.org/customer application. Fill it out. We have 6 of us. We'll get out there within the same week. We'll help you. Yeah.
That's what I love about CE. They're so versatile within Excel.
And they're really they're fast in delivering the pre-results and all that. So that's really good for the grower as well.
They're focused on the customer.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And so are you. The first time I called you was off a recommendation, I believe, from CE. I left a voicemail. Yeah. You called me back that day.
No, yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things in this industry is that you need to answer your phone, right? And then it could be day, night, weekends. Yeah. And that's what we do. I mean, like the customer is king, especially when you have a service like ours. So you need to make sure that when the customer is calling you, then you answer the phone. And it's really important for us, yeah.
Talk a little bit about your journey to COO of the company.
Yes.
Right? You're a hardworking guy.
Yeah, I started in the sales, basically just as a sales director for the company. And yeah, I guess, when I started, it was about 3-4 years ago now. For the company, we actually integrated Rebates to one of our group. Yep. And so at the beginning, I was just, working with the sales team. And then after probably a year, I realized I was, managing a lot of the operations as well. And so that's, naturally came in and became, the CEO of the company and obviously like the operations. But yeah, the journey was great. And honestly, super happy to be part of this space and really grateful that I've met the people, I'm with now. So yeah.
How large of a team do you have at What Rebates?
Right now we have about at the office, we're about like, I'd say 35 people, but we do have, accounting and marketing, HR and all this, but and the sales team as well. Yeah. But really with the engineers and the sales team would be about like 15,000 people, I'd say. 15,000? No. I wish, not yet, but
someday next year.
But we know, but there's 12,000 people that works on rebate as well, and do like all the analysis and rebate. It can be quite straightforward when it's like prescriptive and it's like, okay, you get dollar what, but sometimes you need to kind of do models, HVAC models too. So it can be time consuming as well. So you need to have engineers and people to do that. So
there's only about 7 to 10% of total licenses online, and maybe not every license will come to fruition. But if folks are still very early or brand new, what Rebates can provide a lot of solutions.
Absolutely, yeah. We can, we're kind of that's what we wanted to do, is be like a one-stop shop, where you come in and we do designs, we do, run budget, pretty much, everything when you want to start a facility. We try to work with, we have partners with distribution companies, we with manufacturers, but also kind of incorporate into our structure vertically. We do have like HVAC consultants working with us. We have maybe cocoa or nutrients. We work with advanced nutrients or distribution company like Elevated. So we do have an ecosystem that we built that we rely on, and then we believe that the professionals in the space, and the end goal obviously is to help the customer and to provide a solution that is tailored to their need.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great to hear.
It's another reason we enjoy working with them, because they can help with the HVAC and the dehumidification. And you remember, we're manufacturer neutral, we're vendors, so right? So are they.
Yeah.
But I know when I send somebody to Alexi, they're not being told this is the one way to start your growth. It's not, it has nothing. Here's your option.
Exactly.
Here's the pros and cons. We're having to build models based on multiple manufacturers. That doesn't bother us any. So I like that instead of just a one path success.
Yeah, and to add to this, actually, like most people, they come in and they already had someone in mind, right? They're already like, I want to work with this brand, and we're not here to kind of like strip down them or anything. The idea is just work with what they have in mind and then make it work.
That makes a lot of sense. What should operators absolutely avoid before talking with the experts?
Well, probably just do it. Well, I mean, a lot of people, sometimes I even tell them, like, don't even work. I love them to just to do it because it's quite simple, and like, you can do it on your own. There's little tricks and tricks, obviously, but really kind of doing it without, looking into the parameters. It's like you sign a contract, right? You just want to know what the fine print says, and then that's what we do, right? So always good to just have a talk, at least to understand where you want to go, and talk to someone. And we do that. That's what we do, right? That's what we specialize in. So
because you can fill out a rebate yourself if you are versed in it, but
absolutely,
what all goes into getting a rebate?
Yeah. Well, again, the timelines, and making sure that all the numbers checks out and those kind of things, and then but getting pre-approval when you, for example, if you want to do, like, again, Excel is pretty straightforward, but if you go to your kilowatt hours saved, like kind of calculations, you have different ways of calculating those things against HBS, against the PPFD methods, and you have different ways to calculate it, to optimize those, and utility will accept it or not. So that's what we do. We negotiate with them, we're trained with the engineers, and we become trade allies, and then we know how to work with them, the system. And that's kind of like what we do. We just get trained by the engineers, make sure that we respect guidelines, and that we can maximize it within the frame of the utility program.
Because one blind spot for me that we should call out, because we are working towards serving the greater Minnesota area, is not every grower is in Xcel Energy territory. In fact, a lot of the growers are in southern Minnesota, in northern Minnesota, central Minnesota, outside of Xcel Energy territory. That's why we're going to Brainerd this summer, and Duluth later on. And so outside of Xcel Energy, maybe it gets a little bit less technologically forward.
It's just the program changes in a way that it becomes harder for people to do it on their own.
There we go.
That really is the case, because those calculations they do comparison from HBS to LEDs, but since there's multiple equipment they can choose from, and then you can use there's also baseline with the HVAC systems as well. So calculating HVAC loads and those kind of things based on the transpiration of the plant. It's a lot of work. That's what you need to be professional to do it. And that's what we work with, a team of professionals to do it with us and for us.
So there's lighting, there's HVAC. What else can you administer rebates for?
Dehumidifiers.
Motors,
motors, actually, yes.
Motors in the HVAC system.
In the VS, actually, sometimes they don't qualify. Let's say in Arizona, some dehumidifiers, they don't qualify. So you can look into the spec sheet and actually rebate the motor based on its power. Or you have fans, actually. Sometimes they reward you for fans. Control system is something also that we see quite a bit more in the East Coast. And that's really rewarding in general. And so we also pushing technologies to utility companies, make sure that, sometimes, for example, I was working on a wall that's basically just a tissue, and then it replaced like dehumidification. So like you could technically have a wall that's just a piece of tissue, and replace 85% of your dehumidification. So there's new technology like this that we can, sometimes push to utility and be like, hey, look at that. That might be something. It's warranted. It's 10 years. It works just as good, but it doesn't consume anything.
It's a wall?
It's a wall. Yeah, it's like tiles actually. You can do it as a tile or as a just piece of tissue, but it would absorb and replace about 85% of your dehumidification. So it's there's
Those types of things excite you.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. You have a lot of new technology coming up, and it's quite of exciting. Yeah.
Well, you've been at Rebates. There's been a ton of new technology entering the space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keeps it exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's what we all want to see, right? Like innovation that goes, for benefits to the grower and the customer.
At the end of the day, yeah. I mean, so it seems like the most overlooked business expense could often be the lights.
Oh yeah,
depending on the size of the grow. But like 17 lights, I mean, that's kind of fun to work with somebody at that level too.
I told you last time, man, this is the American dream. I was telling Jeff, they're bootstrapping it, man. I love micros.
There's a micro that's selling flower in the market that's growing in grow tents.
Yeah. I did that in New York as well. I did one in New York. They were in a building, in a warehouse, and they have tents. I was like, I don't remember the size of them, 10 by 10 or something.
Start where you're at.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the American dream, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be glorious from the beginning.
Actually, the real reason for mine is because he didn't want to invest any money in a building that wasn't his.
Yeah.
So it's just like, but it worked out good for him. It was in Buffalo, actually. Great growth.
Lightning round here. Most misunderstood rebate myth. I would say I've heard this from Tony. Free lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe the Colorado program, went a little too far with free lights. Sure. So it seems like Minnesota, XL Energy in Minnesota has reined it back.
Yeah.
But 60+%.
I mean, 60. It's still exceptional, honestly. And then spending of the cost that should you because it's a new market, most facilities are undergoing a major renovation in the building, and those costs, they go high. It depends if it's using. Sometimes they do it in house, so they can do it in house and just actually build the hours to their own company, or they can use sometimes an electrician or plumber, and then you can factor those costs. So it depends. Sometimes you go to states where it's unionized, and it's $250 an hour for those kind of people. Right. So the deal, when you add all those bills, technically you get free lights, but you'll still have to spend money on everything else. So it's kind of the used to be a marketing thing kind of, but it's never been kind of like free because you don't have spending on the side. But it's a huge benefit. And to go back to what you said about 17 lights, even Excel, they have a residential one as well.
Sure.
So 8 lights. Yes. So it's pretty cool. You're just a caregiver, or you just have 8 lights. You can get your lights, get a rebate on it. There's no post-inspection. They made it easy for people.
Yeah, they make it
It's really nice. It's cool.
Passionate and home grow.
Yeah.
Passionate home growers can
give them the opportunity is awesome.
Yeah. Now, is that something that you've been kind of moved them to XL directly?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You bet. Right. Because you guys are both on the commercial side of
prices. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You got it. But you can still tap in, right? You can still take advantage of the greater program if you're in XL Energy territory.
Absolutely.
And, practicing and having up to 4 or 8 plants at any given time is a nice way to gain experience at home, right?
Yeah.
I love that. One thing every operator should do before signing a lease. Anything come to mind?
Well, actually, check
the incoming power.
Yes.
Right.
That's
power.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. I know we've chatted about it in the past.
So I don't know if it's true, but we've heard horror stories of folks signing a lease or purchasing a property, going through everything: lights, HVAC, dehu, every energy using, component. They go to fire everything up and it blows a transformer, knocks them out of commission for 3 to 6 months, and $100,000 bill to get it back up, upgraded. And that's a real story that actually has happened. So
and transporters can take time to get installed depending on where you are in the market.
You can check with Excel. It's like our first step now. I'm always thinking energy savings, rebates, all that. I know nothing about the designers and the engineers on staff. But as soon as we have a customer interest, we connect them to what's called the XL Energy Builders call line.
Yep.
Any of that, however far your scope is defined, whatever your parameters are, getting that to XL early and often just to see if you need an upgrade or not. It's very important.
I think of that as like power conductors.
Yeah. Yeah. That's also something we look at, and then we weren't before, but now even on our platform, we have the amperage of the transformers. We look at this because, people would like to have maybe 100 lights, But then if they have a 200 handbreaker, like, it's not gonna be possible, right?
Yeah.
So we look at that, and then we also look at, you need to leave that buffer of, like, let's say 20%. You have a 20 handbreaker, you're just using 16. How many lights are you going to be able to connect to that to your transformer? But HVAC as well, because you need to take into account HVAC, dehumidifiers. There's a lot of load, right? So look at the load that their project, the load that it will create, and is it, like, viable with the transformer they have? We look at this as well, because we went through some bumps as well, and where people, they order a bit too much, and so not to the point where it exploded the facility, but they can't power half of what they ordered. So then they need to get an upgrade, and then it costs them another $60,000. So it's kind of like,
Another reason why we like Buildouts, right?
Right.
Everyone's trying to sell lights and stuff.
Yeah.
These guys are trying to watch out for the customer. They won't make any money on checking service. You know what I mean? It doesn't change their process, but they've intentionally elected to incorporate that into their process. So it makes me happy.
That makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, it's more one-to-one. You're not trying to oversell the customer.
Yeah, no, we are trying to make sure that, they can use the equipment they have, and obviously because part of the post inspection, and you need to have the lights powered and plants under those lights, right? So if you can't power them, everyone loses, and that's kind of what we're trying to avoid. Yeah, absolutely.
And the team at Rebates, what can you say about your colleagues at the team?
Yeah, well, I'm
Terrible.
Yeah, I hate them all. No, I'm really, the team grew, again, when I started, actually, you asked me, I was doing most of the calculation and most of the sales and everything. I'm lucky that, we found the right people, and the people that, I'm thinking about Abby and even Mato, and that, and my sales manager. We have a great team of people, and then we're also friends, right? So it's kind of like you want to work with people that you like. And we've been growing the company this way, and I'm really the team is everything, and a lot of things, right? So I'm really grateful that we'll do that.
Off topic, but in general, what do you think of the North American cannabis market as a whole?
Oh, I mean, I think it's great. I mean, coming from France, where weed is still illegal. It's coming to a market where it's not, and seeing all the opportunities and the great growers, like when you go like I was talking to a bunch of people yesterday from the industry. They're like, everyone in Berlin or in Amsterdam, mostly in Mary Jane, they're excited about the genetics coming from California, and they the hype coming from products from the US in Europe is it's crazy. People buying seeds for 3 seeds for $200. So that's absolutely insane, the hype there is around. It's legitimately, like, I mean, California, Michigan, those kind of market where Mass, you have markets where they have great product. They've been growing. The legacy as well is huge in the US and in Canada. So it's been 25, 30 years that there's people in this space that are doing amazing work. Probably way longer than that. But I think it's awesome. I mean, it's amazing market. I hope Europe, and especially France, takes that.
They're close, right?
They had the medical, and then they shut it down, which was a huge mistake. I'm a huge advocate of trying to get a rec, obviously, there as well. But especially if France is one of the biggest smoking country in Europe, 65% of consume cannabis of the population. So
I wish we could smoke on camera here. The convention center, maybe not the best place for cannabis conferences. Getting out into making the growers feel comfortable, the cultivators feel comfortable. I think that's one of the hardest parts about cannabis events in a traditional conference model, right?
Yeah.
These guys are protective of their space, of what they do. Tony, what has it been like to get to know growers and cultivators? Because maybe they don't feel trust with your nonprofit or with XL Energy as a whole. How has it gone over the last few years in getting more comfortable within the Minnesota cannabis space?
We've had to prove ourselves. From the first project to the most recent project, we've had to, we know our message, we know what we're trying to get across, but we have to prove it. I was just talking to Jeff when we were on our way to lunch, and I don't want any customer that's waiting on a rebate to not know it's coming. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
We need to stay with them so we're done now. We've filled out the rebate. We've sent it to so we're done. No, I want a personal phone call to every grower saying, hey, check was sent on this date, expect it this date, so on and so forth. Let me know when phase 2 comes up. I wish you the best. We're here anytime you need us.
It's amazing.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I walk the walk.
Last night at the after party, I heard from a social equity applicant that is waiting on their loan from the social equity loan administrator.
Yeah.
14 weeks and they haven't gotten an update, and they're paying for a building.
Yep.
And the OCM is on board with them. The city's on board with them, but they can't get fully approved until the build out is done. But they need the loan in order for the build out to take place. And it kind of is starting to feel a little bit like the New York market for this guy, because he's 14 weeks in and he's paying on his loan, his property.
Yep.
And I feel for the guy, because we want to talk about all the positives within Minnesota cannabis. But if the most heartbreaking story told to me last night at the after party is a social equity applicant that's nearing bankruptcy,
Right.
and they've told him Tuesday is now the magic number for when he's going to get his loan. We have to call these things out, because if the social equity applicant is nearing bankruptcy, this is unacceptable. Where are the priorities at? If CE wasn't getting back to a customer for weeks on end,
What would happen? Yeah.
it would be unacceptable within your team. So transparency and communication is number one.
Absolutely, especially in the cannabis market, right?
Especially in the cannabis.
I agree with that. It's that's why we made the platform and all this. Make sure that people are aware of what we're doing for them, and also what the process is. Sometimes when you rely on third parties and utilities, sometimes you can have delays, and it's important for people to know what's going on. Yeah,
absolutely. No, what Rebates continues to show up in the space here in Minnesota. How do you guys handle yourselves, and how do you bring more integrity to the overall rebate process compared to the rest of the space?
Well, that's a great question, actually. Well, we work with the partnership we have. And then most people in this industry, could be with utilities that we trade a lot with, or distributors or manufacturers that we work with. They, after years working with us, they know that, the transparency and the way that, we don't burn bridges. That's why they keep keep working with us. And then that's something that, being able to trust your partner and make sure that, they're not going to do something you don't want behind your back goes a long way. And then that's what we've been focusing on since the creation of the company with our team. And that's where I'm again grateful for this, because we're all in the same mindset and helping the customer and being as transparent as we can.
We all work for customers. The companies pay our bills, but we work for the customers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tony, a couple of things that you're excited about as we look towards the second half of the year. You guys have some really cool case studies coming out soon. What innovation have you seen in the Minnesota cannabis industry in a short amount of time?
Brad's gonna hate me if he ever listens to this. But we spent a lot of time to help growers with the dimming energy savings. Basically, no operator is running at 100% on week one with a 1,000-watt LED light. That's not factual, right? Yeah. So what we do is we calculate their week by week savings by dimming, if that makes sense. And so it's adding 10 to 20% additional savings beyond just an HBS to an LED. And it's really nice to be able to help customers realize that. I think when they see that supplemental report that we generate that has the greenhouse gas emissions, that has the cars removed, has the annual savings. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's making a big dent with these customers. I love it.
Yeah. And what does dimming mean to you when Tony mentions that?
Yeah, those dimming strategies, they happen. If you want to reduce your operational cost, this is definitely something you need to look at, especially depending on the strain you're growing, different requirements for your plant. You can definitely dim that. When you're comparing apples to apples, you have a 1,080 watt HPS that is basically and you put an LED that's 1,000 watt. But the LED is as an efficacy that's twice as much as the HPS. So you don't need that amount of photon to go to the plant, right? And so that's why having a dimming schedule will reduce your OPEX, obviously, but you can't really blast your put more than 1,500 like some people do. But 1,500 ppfd at your canopy is pretty much the max. So if you put an HPS that's 3.2, an LED that's 3.2 right above your canopy, 30 centimeters, you're going to tip your plant, bleach your tops. So just little biology things that you need to just obey for.
Do you pay attention with where we're going on Schedule 3 and the potential changes to the industry?
Well, yeah, it could be. Yeah, obviously, that's something that everyone should be looking at. If you're in this space, having access to the banking system and being able to
FinCEN, credit all those
It's huge. Let's be honest, like, being in this space and, dealing with banks and VCs.
Change the game.
Change the game, yeah. I mean, and, reducing we're going to get 30% margin straight up, right? So, I mean, it's also something that, in terms of capital, it will be interesting. But yeah, mainly for the access of capital, right? I think it will be a huge game changer, and I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully that happens sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, by the time this episode comes out, hopefully the ALJ hearings have done well, and we're on our way towards Schedule 3 for the adult use space.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm generally optimistic. Minnesota has been able to have more of an optimistic approach.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some heartbreaking stories along the way. However, I think we're primed for a great market here, and I think the next couple of years will be very fruitful for Minnesota.
I agree.
And I'm looking forward to continuing the relationship with both CE and What Rebates. So
Same here.
appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Good seeing you, bud. Great to see you. We'll have the What Rebates and CEE links in the description. We appreciate you watching the CannaConnect show, and we'll see you next time.